Right, so Natalia is the CEO of Viseven. You know her. She introduced herself. Myself, I'm not equally as famous. I'm originally from Ukraine. I spent about 20 years in the corporate finance, and then I started my own agency. And I was focusing on e-commerce only. And we did e-commerce builds, and Johnson & Johnson, by the way, was the client. And right now I work in San Francisco, California. My team is local here, and then I have people in Argentina and in Ukraine, and we partner with Viseven on many, many different fronts. So Natalia, Ken, and myself, we are working in triangle trying to raise the US market right now. And my subject is to talk about the digital transformation with you, and to just see what's happening out there right now in general, and then the pharma industry, some really cool examples, and then what it means for you. So I know J&J is well along the way on the transformation, right? And so I have actually worked with their IT on the global approach and microservices and the agile and all of that, so we'll mention that. And then Natalia will talk about the modular content across channels. So this is a great legend and the story to start from. So a pregnant woman, a Target, and the coupons. Who knows the story? Mm-hmm. Nobody knows the story. So, I know. So the story, yeah, it's an old story, 1994. Yes. So a father becomes very mad because he gets the pregnancy coupons for his wife, for his daughter. I'm sorry, 14 years old. 14 years old. And he calls Target and he begins this whole, noise about it. Turns out his daughter was pregnant. But how did they find out? They started to track the women's purchases of different foods in the grocery section, and they found that in the first trimester, women behavior changes, and the products they consume, they indicate clearly that they're pregnant. And so Target then changed the strategy, and now what they're doing is they're sending you a lot of bullshit coupons, and in the middle of that, they put in some pregnancy coupons so that it's hidden. It's not that obvious. So people don't really see that. Now, would you call this digital transformation? And to me, it is. But to a lot of people, it looks like this. Everybody's talking about digital transformation. I have some systems, I have some dials, I have some dashboards, but what does it all mean for me? Is this transformation or not? So here's another example. This was in the inbox 2 weeks ago. Ericsson came up with the glove for surgeons. And you put on the gloves, and you look in the VR glasses, and you operate on the patient, which is remotely. Right? And this is how it looks. So the guy is there working, and the robot arm precisely manipulates with the stitches and all of that. Possible only with the 5G kind of connection. But it's enabled as the technology progresses. So do we say digital transformation? No, we say evolution. Because even the Target example, some people would argue that this is digital transformation because they analyzed the data and they made some transformative decisions. So evolution through digitization. And so a few other examples. BMW, this is the car that will be on the market in 3 years from now. So this car has only 3 controls. One is the steering wheel, and the other 2 is the pedals, plus and minus. Mm-hmm. So you either slow down or you accelerate, and nothing else. And you talk through the conversational interface with the car, and that's your sort of egg in which you travel. Quantum computing. That's another big deal, which is already in play. So IBM quantum computer is in front of you. Quantum computer is different from the traditional in that qubits in it can take simultaneously the state of 1 and the 0. And the computing power is such that the current cybersecurity and all the passwords and all the security protocols, they would be rendered inefficient in seconds. So this computer at this power would be able to go through all the possible combinations and decipher your passwords immediately. So guess why they're not popular yet? Because it's being pushed back, and the adoption is really slow because of that very reason. People just don't know how to deal with the cybersecurity threats. Haptics, the interaction with maps and different devices through touch. So you can speak by voice, you can touch things and click and move and swipe, but you can also, through different gestures, you can manipulate with systems. That's mainstream right now. Robots. So in many supermarkets, robots right now already are placing things on the shelves. I don't know if you've ever experienced it yet, but in San Francisco, we have some supermarkets where the robots are going through the aisles and visually are registering which products needs to be replenished. So in the retail, it's gaining speed. And then the 5G. The 5G, oh, how fast is it? Well, it's 20 times faster than 4G. It's not just 1 time faster, 2 times faster, 20 times. That means what? That the video, which takes 20 minutes to upload, is going to take just a couple of seconds to upload, which means that connectivity for this remote surgery is going to be amazingly good, and things are going to be possible that we don't even know about. So what enables these things? There are 5 factors in my view. Some people say 4, some people 6, more. So you have cloud computing, software as a service. Everything is in the cloud, nothing is in the servers. So that's an obvious one. Everybody knows about that one. Artificial intelligence is still confusing to some people. What is it? Some kind of weird brain there. So it's very simple. It's an application that takes in the input from sensors outside of it, and which makes decision at some level of autonomy. Right? So it could be completely autonomous, or it could be totally dependent on human input, but it still has this decision-making power inside of it. Big data. Let me ask you, Natalia, big data, how is it different from data? What do you think?
It depends.
Well, okay, so what is big data? Imagine I'm a 5-year-old child. What do you say?
It's hard to explain, but like the data that you can work with, and that can bring you insights.
So this is all good. The only other dimension would be this. It's so massive in scale that it allows you to get the insights which were not possible before. For example, if we are racing in the car racing, in the Formula One, you know, the driver, the car, and the number of tracks, this is data. Who wins, who loses. What is big data? It's the terabytes of data from every car sensor which comes after the race. And you know which temperature, which speed, at which moment, what was the pulse of the driver, and all of that. And with those kinds of insights, you can get much more insights. Internet of Things is simply the sensors and the hardware devices that you interact with and that collect all of this big data. And then mobility. All the phones on this table, so 1, 2, 3, 7, 8. So 8 phones. So I would claim that all of these phones in this room have maybe more processing power than the whole world had in 60s. Right? And so these 5 factors, when they combine together, they give you opportunity to realize those examples I've talked about before. So this is the Salesforce slide. I love this slide because they talk about 4th industrial revolution. So you have steam, then you have electricity, then you have computing power, and finally you have this 4th industrial revolution which you leverage computers to give you that intelligence. So with those 5 enablers, you finally get the intelligence and the value from all that data being accumulated. What else happened? So you still remember, I mean, some of the people are younger in the room, but you remember how it all started. And all of a sudden we started to get those qualitative gains, and some companies became obsolete. And there appeared new companies which all of a sudden transformed their industries. So you have just MP3, HTML in 90s, search engines came about. I don't know if you remember the web crawler, the catalog, the first catalogs, right? And then it ballooned, and now we're talking about self-driving cars, smart cities, we're talking about smart home, predictive analytics, and all of that. What does it mean? There are companies who are going to be on top of that, and there are companies who are going to drop off the charts. So how not to become one, we will talk about. One thing which we see out there, because we're a technology company, and when we deploy solutions, we see the technology infrastructure in this transformation. It's rapidly shifting from the monolithic platforms to microservices. So imagine Lego cubes. So imagine a platform which is a combination of hundreds of different services, and you select only ones that you need in your system, and you don't need the rest. And so it used to be that you would buy a huge, humongous system. So in J&J you have SAP and you have Salesforce. And as soon as you go to IT and you say that I need the change in SAP, they go, oh yeah, forget about it, it'll take years. Yeah, nobody touches SAP in J&J because it's just a monolith, right? And so, but that's different from this approach that we're talking about. So you have, in this microservices, we call it services mesh. You have systems of record. So you would have your SAP ERP, for instance, or maybe the Salesforce CRM. So you have all this catalog data, content, customer information, and then you have interfaces by which people communicate. So you may have the what do they have? In J&J Vision, they have something which is called next-gen platform, next-generation platform for users to get information about the products. And that's one of the interfaces. And then they try to hard-code things through SAP to get the pricing for the doctors. And it only works in that country, and they cannot deploy it elsewhere because that's specific to that country, right? But in this system, you make it independent. The interface is independent from the system of record, and it works through the layer of APIs. APIs, application programming interface. So your platform has to be API enabled so that you can pick up on the services you need. What else we see? From just the mobile responsive sites and mobile devices support, we go to the single page apps and then the IoT applications and the conversational interfaces. Show me where I can find the nearest doctor, where I can get the contact lenses. That's a conversational interface. We also see that previously personalization has been based on rules. Okay, you're a man, you're women, so I'm going to be marketing to women this way. No, it's not anymore the case. You are going to talk to an individual, a person with her needs, specifically, without labeling her just a woman, and then everything is dumped on her. And then developer-heavy tools. So these monolithic platforms, they assume that there is a huge IT department, which is like a machine. It takes in the requests, and then it needs to get only so many requests to start working. And then you get to the rapid development and integration and the content authoring tools to be able to experiment faster. Those are the trends we see. We have these magnificent examples. You probably know the story exactly what I'm going to talk about, right? So, remote medicine. You have the elderly people who are sitting in the remote village in Alaska, where doctors can only fly through by helicopter, but they can communicate through the IP network with the nurse, and she would be reading their vital signals and would be advising them on what is happening with them, possibly. So one of my clients was in Sitka in Alaska, and that's what they have. They have the doctors who come in once a month. Doesn't matter if it's dentist or surgeon or therapist or the skincare specialist. That's the only window they get. For 4 hours, people know that they can come to the hospital and the doctor will be there. So these enablers are now transforming the way people live. And even in the remote village in Alaska, you can get the premium healthcare. New players in the industry. So the 4 riders of the apocalypse, I call them. The Facebook, Amazon, Google, and Apple, right? So Facebook is starting to move in that direction in health space. So in the early stages, they did their One Health conference, and they're holding the second one. They're trying to do it around the world. Then Amazon is in the early stages. Well, all it's doing is just hiring from the pharmacies, some specialists, and nothing is certain. They went into the insurance space, and they started to insure their packages for delivery, but not the health insurance, but they will definitely be in the health insurance very soon. Google is in mid stages, and it leverages its algorithms for targeting like protein degradation, things with the company called C4 Therapeutics. And Apple is the most advanced of all 4. So Apple is leveraging the platform the most effectively. iPhone plus iWatch. iWatch now has, Apple Watch, has the best cardio sensors for tracking your heart electrocardiogram. Right? It's actually the medical grade. That's the only watch in the world. I think another one is the company in Finland, which is doctor certified. In other words, that cardiogram that watch takes, it can be used for actually treating people. So what Apple does is they have this new health application, which takes in the data from all the Apple devices, but you can also have third-party applications, and it accumulates your habits, your style of living, your sports activities, and then your health. This is what Facebook, so a couple of slides in more detail, like don't read it all, there's a lot of bullshit here. So Facebook right now is going through the stage where they have so many privacy concerns in all the countries that every initiative they try to do is faced with a challenge. So they try to do the radiology that advances, suicide prevention based on the social media posts, addiction treatment, opioid misuse, and then hospital data. And the last one is absolutely horrible because they're privacy concerns. So this slide is to show that Facebook is mostly associated with crackdown, predatory, privacy concerns, legal cases, and all of that. So it still remains to be seen what would be the impact there. But Google, for example, has invested into specific startups that work in this space, like Calico, anti-aging, genetics, oncology, metabolic dysfunction, and others. And then Verily is very interesting. Imagine contact lens, Johnson & Johnson Vision, contact lens of the future with the built-in computer screen and the face recognition and all of that. So continuous glucose monitors, bioelectronic medicines, retinal imaging, surgical robots, and population health data. So Alphabet is investing obviously in all the Google core technologies, but they're making very core bets on the advances in digital. This is my favorite slide. More information across every channel. We are bombarded completely. Like, you go through the airport, and you wish you can stop and just read all the things around you, but you never have enough time. You have so many PDFs on your tablet that you don't have time to read. But in terms of pharma, so product and services performance information is there. Monitoring applications and sensors. You have online communities that are constantly sharing data, and advanced data aggregation, and then it all leads to the qualitative shifts. Like, you cannot digest all this information anymore. You would not have enough of your lifetime. But I have a chronic disease, psoriasis, right? And all of my life I lived with it. And all of a sudden, I can go online to this community of people who are treating psoriasis and get the input of what works, what doesn't, and get the feedback on the medicine that my doctor recommends. And this is not some random advice. This is advice of like millions of people, which is consensual. So you see, maybe if it works for 1 million people, maybe it works for me as well. So efficiency gains everywhere with automation and AI. I have 2 examples here. You're going to love them, I promise you. Breast cancer, mammographies. So MIT came up with this 2 years ago. What they did is they had a set of data. They had 50,000 x-rays of the women's breast. And then the only other data point for them was how many years or months did that woman live afterwards, after the x-ray was taken. And they trained the machine learning algorithm only for one thing. And they said, show me which image makes the woman live shorter, which is impacting her life. And in the X-ray for mammography, they have markers, right? So they have those areas on the breast which indicates that there's a potential issue there. So there were 9 of these markers known before. After the algorithm ran, they found 4 more. And so there was an improvement of about 30% in discovery of the disease in the early stages. So that became available only through AI. Another completely unrelated example. So I walk through the gardens, I walk on the streets, and sometimes I see beautiful plants. I wonder what that plant is. So there's an app out there, Identify Plant, where you can take a picture, and it will tell you instantly what the plant is, how you take care of it, how to use it, and what other plants it lives with. Not only does that, but if the plant has some kind of disease, so you have a leaf which is yellow, it'll tell you what the disease is. It'll tell you what pest is actually eating it. I've tested this on random pieces of leaves. Like, I went through my garden and I look at the grass and different dry leaves. Identifies everything. So this is possible through AI. And the beauty of this is, with every new photo and analysis, it gets better.
Like waves.
So my point on the slide is this. We don't even realize that every day, by downloading these apps and making our lives easier, we are part of this transformation. Yes. And so it will be efficiency gains increases, very small, and then all of a sudden we'll discover that we live in a different world. The benefit for us is tremendous, and so is the danger also. Because if you think about this, let's say the algorithm recommends that I am taken to the hospital care immediately and I am to be given a shot A. What if I die? Who is responsible? So they talk about the medicine of the future being the augmented reality, not the artificial reality, and augmented intelligence, not the artificial intelligence, because you have the computer algorithm, but there needs to be a human touch, human person at the end, the expert, who checks who checks the validity of it, and who is able to pull the plug and say stop. So really interesting area, and there's going to be a lot of issues there. So for the pharma, another very small slide with very few information pieces. But each main player in the pharma industry, including your employer there, it shows how many startups in healthcare they bought from the year 2010 all the way to 2017. And everyone is there. J&J is there. Novartis is there. You know, you have, who else do you have? Amgen, you have Roche. Everybody is in this game. Why? Well, because of a simple thing. The benefits are tremendous. To get into this game early, you would reap the benefits of the big data generation, healthcare professional decision-making support, collaboration across industries, improved patient outcomes, precision treatment, enhanced disease prevention, and all of that. In fact, there's a term now, ladies, which is called XaaS. What is that? Everything as a service. Not just software as a service, not just hardware as a service, not a platform, everything. And so it's a holy grail in the industry. Hi.
Is this 404?
Yeah. Come on in.
Okay.
That's right.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Hi.
We're in the midst of the presentation, so we didn't have a huge turnout, but we decided to still do it. What's your name?
Chris,
Chris. Where are you from?
Mexico.
Bravo. My name is Sergei, and I'm with Viseven, and Natalia is the second speaker here.
Hello.
Hello.
Right. So, the other aspects of digital transformation in healthcare. So you have this truly personal care being possible right now, 24/7 by 365. And there are a couple of startups which I will mention that are really great in this space. Behavioral change. So we all try to change the behavior. I try to work out, to lose weight, you know. Somebody else tries to stop smoking. Somebody else needs to stop, you know, sniffing glue, whatever. You know, everybody needs to change behavior in some way. But it's very difficult to do if you're not interacting with people who are helping you. And so this startup, Vida, develops personalized evidence-based programs to cater to various health conditions. So you have mobile apps and devices and coaching, human coaching as well, to offer individuals the behavioral changing advice. And so it's easier when somebody is working with you to change your behavior. You have Bioforumis, which is predicting health problems. So what these guys do is, it's a connected platform, software and medical sensors on you in order to monitor your health and predict potential issues that may arise, especially in seniors. So you have these pendants that you're wearing, and they take the reading of all the possible things that are happening with you, and then predicting if you have some issues. So it works with insurance companies, providers, with the biopharmaceutical and medtech industries. A couple of examples from Omni-channel Therapeutics. So Sword Health, the company, develops a digital therapy platform for treating musculoskeletal disorders. So real physical therapists and a clinical team for comprehensive healthcare. So it actually analyzes the way you walk and the way that the way your pain level is to actually see what's wrong with you and then connect you with a therapist who can help you and interact with you. You have neurotrack technology. So people who are diagnosed with the Alzheimer's disease, so they have the digital products for that, including that include the apps and different sensors that they put on you. This is my favorite, respiratory. So spirometer. I never knew this word exists, but apparently it's a device that measures your breath. So based on the chemicals that come out of your body, it diagnoses your health condition. And so it's a platform which predicts your lung health and can connect you to the doctors. Every one of the big players there, and I'm sure these are not the exclusive, this is not the exclusive list of companies, uses some kind of a partner to work on artificial intelligence. And we already spoke about artificial intelligence a little bit. Like J&J is using benevolent AI, and then Pfizer has a partnership with IBM Watson. Why do they do that? Well, because remember the definition of AI. You have application, and you have algorithm inside of it that can make decisions based on the external input. So J&J would take all the inputs from different sensors and patient data and their behavioral data and have the benevolent AI come up with the insights on that. Marketers' holy grail. You want to precisely target based on prescribing behavior. You want to target the person based on their behavior with the 100% accuracy that they will need that treatment or they will need your product, right? And so how do you do that? You mine the electronic records, You get all that input into the algorithm for AI, and then it gives you the legitimate evidence on the efficiency of drugs, and it's based on data. So who is responsible? So before you came in, I mentioned that the field of AI is so rich for lawyers right now. Like when the algorithm is going to tell me to take that pill and I die, is that algorithm that's responsible? Or is the company who just designed it is responsible?
Right.
Or somebody who fed it data is responsible? It's a truly new field of ethics in applying the AI. And so we say that most care is protocoled, and informed decision algorithm is going to be curated by human experts in the future. A couple of other examples, and I'll speed up to not to bore you because you're tired. It's the end of the long day. The Spanish company, Psios, therapies involve a lot of the artificial environments. If I'm stressed out, I better be in a calm environment with the waterfalls and all of that. So they create these environments in the VR. So they have about 70 different environments to treat things like attention disorder, so that people can concentrate or relax and so forth. And this company here, Voice Tech, I didn't know those guys until last week, but apparently, based on your voice and the breath and the frequency of your sounds that come out of your body, you can predict your health and tell what's exactly is wrong with you. So Sonde Health, they use the voice-based technology to monitor and diagnose health conditions. Voice is a biomarker for analyzing brain, muscle, and health measurements, and the company intends to focus on the neurological, respiratory, and cardiovascular diseases. So if your heart is not in order, you're going to stop and catch your breath between phrases, right? And so, and all of these things are unseen to the human eye and unheard to the human ear. But the AI algorithm does not get tired. It takes in millions of inputs and can decipher them, right? So you have all these things that are great around us. Startups spinning up and different companies investing in different areas. How do you start? How do you maximize the value, right? So what do you do? There are 4 components to it. You cannot just talk about technology. You cannot just buy a platform and say, I'm digitally transforming. Mm-hmm. So it starts with a strategy. Where you should be going, you should define initially, and better your senior leadership should be involved. Business models. So what does your customer need? Unconstrained by your business needs. So, for instance, my need is to travel. And I'm an often traveler, and sometimes I find that I need to travel at the last minute when the prices are high. So I found this amazing deal. So there's a company called Jet Suite X, which takes the private jets, which are sitting on the tarmacs unused, and it Ubers them together. And you can buy the ticket from San Francisco to Seattle for $50.
No.
And you would be flying a private jet. So the way this works is, the mic is right there with me. So like, you go into the private VIP airport entrance, you have the concierge, you have the coffees and the sandwiches waiting for you. You sit on the plane and you get the best treatment. You come to this private tarmac on the Boeing factory in Seattle, and then you call Uber and you're on the way. And so people are using it today, and so people travel with kids and all over the place. And so this is an example of how you would service the raw customer needs, but you change the business model. It's not necessarily that just people who are rich need to travel by jets. I mean, it's better economically if you open it to the public as well. So enablers. So we spoke about enablers. This data is fundamental. It's not the system that you own that has the most value. It's your customer profiles. So you have these profiles, and that's your most important thing. It doesn't matter if you work with SAP or Salesforce or Oracle or Adobe. It really matters where you keep those profiles, and if you can take them out of that software. And by the way, Salesforce is great at keeping you attached to the platform because they make it so hard for you to extract that data. But ownership of this data is critical. So you need to transform this data ownership. You need the technology. You need the operating model internally. How are your product teams organized? Is it around the function or about the project? Is this project-centric or team-centric in the function? And then, as we said, microservices, API-based, and a lot of these platforms are now headless. You guys know what the headless means?
Not really.
So headless is something, it's a software which does not have the human interface. So think of the microchip. Microchip is the headless software.
Right.
On top of that, you can build a website and you can interact with that platform, right? And so if you build the software in a headless way, then you can interact with it through the smartwatch, through the mobile phone,
Right.
through the car dashboard, through the kiosk, and so forth. And so it's very, very portable and modular. And then you need to orchestrate it all together. So manage change through experimentation. Forget the SAP. Forget something that takes 3 years. I mean, I love SAP. I went to SAP Hybrids, but you know, it's a monolith platform. It's very slow. You need to experiment and run these experiments fast. Natalia said, fail fast. We disagree on this. I don't think we should fail fast. We think we should experiment fast and win fast. Yeah, you will fail sometime, but at least you know. At least you tried. So the most important thing there is not to experiment with everything. My son plays Monopoly and he bets all of his money always on something. Experiment in a small way. Keep the mainstream platform, but maybe build something on the side and run it as a pilot in a test, and then roll it out and take it to other markets. Key success factors: C-level involvement, new generation competencies and roadmaps, quick experiments I just mentioned to you. You have multiple agile technologies to work with, right? And you guys all heard about this, the scrums and kanbans, and making sure that you run the iterative sprints. Change management in the organization, and then the vendors and partners like Viseven, here's my sales speech, who can transfer knowledge. So you don't want somebody who can just attach you to themselves and you're on the needle, and every time you need to change a web form, you have to go to them, and they charge you $200 an hour. No good. Right? We want to give you the platform, and then with this platform comes the service if you need it. But we train you how to use it. So we equip you how to use it. So another interesting point. So the sooner you start collecting the data, the better you will be. Why? Because the benefits are in the geometrical progression. I read somewhere on the internet a couple of months ago that in the race for AI worldwide, Europe, America, Canada, China, there's not going to be a second or third place. There's going to be a one winner, and the winner takes it all. Why? Because by the time the other country is going to catch up, you are already going to be here. Yeah, and you are basically going to buy out all of their scientists, all of their centers, and you're going to get so many insights that you're going to render their weapons useless. So, early starts. So experiment often and fast. Internal projects, maybe only two or three flagship initiatives, and don't spread too thin. You need to win by showing the one good example of something that works. If it works, scale it immediately across the enterprise. And you guys at J&J, you're great at that because you have this, well, we'll talk about this in a second. Develop your org talent for new business model consistently. So what happens if you don't train your people? They're going to leave, or they're going to stay. Do you want, do you want either one? No. You want to train them and invest in them and continue to educate so that they help you realize your dreams. Agile takes time. So I don't know if you guys implemented Agile or not, if you're still in the waterfall, but typically the big boss in the company would come in and say, we're Agile now. and you have a Scrum Master, you have the product owner, you have the project team, and you have the stand-ups and retrospectives. It typically takes 3 to 9 months, depending on your culture, to fully implement and to fully gain efficiencies. A lot of education. One of the famous companies out there, which we would not name the names because we're in the confidentiality agreements with them and everything, has this very interesting framework of how they work with the digital transformation. And so when we came there, we actually helped them design this thing, and we now work based on this in mind. So there are different areas which we identified as critical to digital transformation. And we say that you have a compliance issue in the pharma. You have the data architecture that we need to take into account, how we acquire the data from third parties, how we govern the data. So that's our global framework, regardless of the country we're in. Then we have the agile development tools, data science, web engine that we use across the board, talent, and then the local implementation. And we said that this is the way we're going to treat the data. First of all, we're going to have the partnerships at different levels, global, regional, local, and there are 3 types of data that comes in to the company: transactional, health, behavioral. And what we will do with it is We'll be proactively looking at it. Management is leading this initiative. We'll demonstrate the data value. So as soon as you have the claims data, diagnostics, health trackers, and wearables tell you something, you immediately take that insight and you propagate it across the board successfully. So as soon as your A/B testing, as soon as your algorithm tells you there is an incremental improvement and it's proven statistically, you propagate it through the organization. You demonstrate the data value, and then you focus on data specificity to that market, because, one of my clients was the lingerie maker, La Perla, the European brand, and we built the websites for them and so forth. And apparently the physiques of the human body are so different by region that we have the different shapes of things that they make for different markets, right? So it's useless to look at the statistics of sales or the models in the specific market. You need to be very, very local. And so your local partnerships matter a lot. And from time to time you have one-off ad hoc data acquisition models, but notice the fact that management is leading, and this is right in the middle of it. So, how do you get ahead of the pack? Well, we have a tool, designed specifically for you. And Natalia is going to talk about this platform that we have, and we're going to make it very practical for you. So just a few more slides, bear with us. We're almost there, okay? So was that helpful? Was that interesting?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Very good. Man, I promise I give you the full personal tool later. So go ahead. Okay, you go.
Despite mostly a late hour, let's talk about how this challenge came across our organization. Because as Sergei just told, a leader of the organization has to take the proactive part of this digital transformation. And there was a challenge for us at Viseven also, because we are working with our customers, and the universe of our customers looks like this. So to get into omni-channel experience, we have to have the experience with all the modern technologies and all the companies and the leading companies in the world, like we are seeing here, right? So we have also come to this world and start thinking how we have to transform ourselves to become valuable to our customers. Because what we have is the business, and whatever transformation we are taking, we still have to be in the business. We're still to have to operate as a company, so we can't do a very long journey. That's why we have to start thinking about our customers' pains. And our findings were very huge, because despite all this connectivity and despite all this platform communicating together, the only thing we realize is sitting in silos today is content. Right? Because even we are measuring a lot of data, we're still speaking and we are hearing only channels, how different channels affecting our messaging. But we are not really seeing how the content is looking at this universe. And we started to work with this content, and that's how eWizard was created. Because we imagine, if there is a message which is channel agnostic, which is not impacted by any channel, if this message exists, because whatever we are sending to our customers, patients, physicians, it's based on the single study. In the beginning of the show, we have a study, and it doesn't transform a lot. It just transforms because the appearance of different channels. But what if we have a platform which optimizes that? Which doing it not depending on the channel, on the agency, on any other's view, but just optimizing the look and feel and having all this journey better. So that was the intention. So what we have started to think, our marketeers and IT departments, our customers, all the time have the biggest challenge in transforming the marketing materials into digital files. What I mean here, once this journey started, usually we are skipping the MLR, which is a huge challenge and a huge pain, because MLR approval usually have lack of resources to preview the interactive, the creative part. They usually do not have the tool in place just going here and there and seeing what the annotation will be right, the concrete piece. And what is going on here, we are really not as fast as we want to be. So we are not delivering the content fast, we are not transforming these files fastly. So what we are doing now, we are really cooperating with such big vendors as Viva. Like Viva Vault is having a huge amount of data, approved data, which is helping us to create this channel agnostic content. So what we are doing with them, we are empowering MLR forces, providing them the ability to preview inside Vault the interactive materials. So we are skipping a lot of steps. They do not need now to download this to their iPads, to see and all to have these steps again and again. What they are doing, they are just edit in a wizard, preview in a wizard, create in a wizard directly from Viva. They are not changing the interfaces. Do they speed up a lot? Yes, because we are missing all these stages which they are usually having, right? So what we are trying to do, we are trying to make it as simple as possible, because at the moment all the journey does not look as simple as it should be. We should really collaborate with the agencies, because even we start our creative process, we start with the idea and the agency, the right agency, which has to have the right tool in place, the access to the platform, and we have to brief them actively. Then, of course, we have to care about MLR, we have to care about the distributions, the different channels, the agile response, and the adjustments. All these questions we have afterwards. Can I create an interactive brief for my agency? Because usually what I have, a PDF in the best case scenario, or a phone call, or an email, right? The phone call is the most realistic scenario in our case, right? But interactive brief. Do I have a right tool? Because usually when I'm getting sick, if somebody's like, make a mock-up for me in Balsamiq or somewhere, so it's totally different technology. I want to be in the right place to play with the existing resources and to create really final view to what I want to get from my agency. And this is the start which we think eWizard is capable for. We can create the interactive brief. Then how MLR, after the creative work is done, can preview this in interactive manner. So we created a connection through API, through micro web services, eWizard, Viva Vault. There is an interactive connection, so we can preview everything. How I can annotate that, so and synchronize to Vault, so everyone who is participating will receive the messaging. So it is also in eWizard. And then we do not need to really worry how I have to reuse it across the channels. eWizard Publishing do it all. Agility or efficiency, do we need to decide? I don't think so, because we have to be flexible. We have to be flexible, but being flexible doesn't mean that we have to create this back and forth forward mess. So we have to be flexible in the transparent way. That means like we have to provide this platform for everybody. Because it doesn't, we had some different cases, I think it was also in Russia, then some of the agencies hadn't received the access to eWizard, and the marketing team had the access. And there was really miscommunication, because the marketing team wasn't really involved in whole the project and the process, how the content was created. And that was really miscommunication, and even the platform was in place, so we now provide it for all. The solution. So why eWizard is so good? So what is underneath? So the main principle is here. So of course, it's not invented by Viseven, earlier, but Lego and modules and how we play it is the most valuable way, because while we can think that studies, and there is not only the studies, what is a module? It is a design, it is a message, it is a content like imaginary. So this is a module. So, and what we have, the difference, The difference is just the graphical interpretation. And the graphical interpretation varies from channel to channel. And there is the only difference. Let us assume like we have to create, from the beginning, we have to create a module which will be agnostic. Whatever channel we go, it will be still similar graph, it will be still similar key message. It can just be different dimension, different view of this similar module, but it will be still the same. How a wizard will work in this scenario? Very simple. When you go to your Vault to create a piece of content and you choose the pre-designed module, you press the button, go and create in a wizard, and the wizard is changing it in correspondence with the channel which you want to use. So if you want to use for e-detail, it will be the dimension of slide. If you want to use for your web page, it will be right to be placed as on the web page. If it is a block of the email, you have just to start with the right template, the rep triggered email, or it is a broadcast, and it will be placed in the right time and the right place. And if you want to synchronize it with Eloqua, with Salesforce Marketing Cloud, it is synchronizable because eWizard talks to all these programs with API, right? And there is the main principle we are using today: create once and publish everywhere. So our CTO likes, Roman likes to tell, please tell me what your system is and tell if API is available. So, and we will connect there. So, and whatever you create from modules, playing like Lego in eWizard will go directly to the system you want to be. I think we have video now. Yes?
2 minutes, right?
I don't think so. Maybe it is faster, but we do have like a concrete demo here. So how we are working with the slides, how we can replace them, how we are moving across the presentation, what the module is, how we are replacing imagery directly from Vault, like real time. We have this linkage between Vault, which allows us to jump here and there, whatever time you need. And the beauty is you are not logging into this system again and again. It is synchronized for single sign-on. So as localization part, so how you can provide the access to your translating agency, and this localization will be also looking simpler than it is. So we are doing pretty much creative work right now. So we are adding the functionality, and now we are publishing either to Vault or CRM if it is a finalized piece. This publishing is a very, like, it looks very simple, but it is quite a process. And if you want, as an example, some of the customers, they want, in addition, publish interactive piece together with the PDF. This is possible. Or if you need to publish any other resources directly before you publish the interactive piece, so this is also possible. And if you have any custom data to be captured, because we created a module just to capture even more data, because module is not a slide, it's a smaller piece, so providing us more information if this smaller piece was touchable, or the interaction was over there with this, not all the slide, but the module. The email templates, how they are going to be created. Also working with the blocks. There are pre-designed blocks, absolutely editable. So you are just drag and drop. They are very agnostic, so you can place them to Salesforce Marketing Cloud or Eloqua in your case, so there's also a possibility. So the complete connection, while you are choosing the system, the data will balance this piece you created with the environment you have. So create once and publish everywhere. Please welcome to Viseven and do the same. Thank you very much.